Next race, okay, Superheat 1 heading out onto the circuit. And again, this is going to be an interesting one for the championship because, well, Kostoya falls into his hands again because then it limits later on in those standings. So this is still an important race for Kostoya, but yes, it's going to be an interesting one. Right, drivers head onto the circuit, and let's take you through the full starting lineup then for this race as they're all squaring away as the rain continues to fall down here at the Rugby circuit in Denmark. We'll go over that grid now. Roman Kamyab and Joe Turney on the front row of the grid. Zach Drummond and Yindra Peschel will be going from row number 2. Vladimir Ivanikov and Thomas Pradir go from row 3. They will have Gino Rocchio and Thibaut Ramakas on row 4. Jakub Kamenek and Christian Kostoya, championship leader, starts on row number 5. Davide Bataro and Klara Kowalczyk go from row number 6. Luke Kornda and Leon Nilsson on row 7 from Zach Green and Daniel Kelleher on row number 8. They'll have Zhang Jose and Dean Pedersen on row number 9. Sebastiana Pavan and Maria Neto go from row 10. They lock out to the first half of the field and will be the first of those drivers who need to have the good races here to try and get into that final. Ella Hakkinen and Toby Gale go from row number 11. They'll have Fastau Anado and Aston Sharp on row 12. Sebastian Mins and Oliver Rasmussen go from row 13. Hugo Marti and Johan Pockel on row 14. Ahead of Jorn Helder and Sonja B on row 15. They ran out the top 30. Marcus Juncher and Vengar Clemenson on row number 16. Mats van Rooyen has made it into the Superheats, but he's got a lot of work to do to see if he can make it into that final. He'll have Jason Braddock of company alongside Mel Peldis and Marco Gast round out the field of 36 drivers. Nicole Sutherland, you join me back in the box. I was talking very briefly about points, but I need to look and see what sort of scenarios we might have here if the championship fight could still be alive going into that final.
Yeah, well, it was going to be an interesting one indeed. Of course, your drivers Kostoya and Anagnostiades both had turbulent weekends so far with some up and down results. Really has played a bit of a spanner into the works here this weekend. So we're going to have to do some maths to work out, is Kostoya going to be a championship winner by the end of these Superheats? To try and work it out then for our audience. But for now, final intermediate classification so far is Kamyab out at the front with Burnett and Turney. Of course, Turney and Kamyab in this race together, side by side on that front row. Both have had heat wins, both have had seconds as well. But who's going to take a heat win here? Is it going to be Turney? Is it going to be Kamyab? Or so another name going to jump into the front end of this order? Out of the final turn, these drivers will go. They will see the lights. Will the lights go green? Revs raise, and they are not out. We'll go round again.
False start then for the seniors. Gives them a bit of time to clear a bit of that standing water on the circuit as the rain continues to fall a little bit here. But I'm going to be very British here, Nicole, and I'm going to say it's brightening up out there a bit.
It's not.
Okay, fine.
Sorry.
It's just completely barred me off there. Well, from my view out the commentary box here, I think it is. Right, they head up in towards turn number 5 again then. Bit of time to get everything squared away. The biggest thing you can take away from this one is that the wind is still high there, Nicole. And that is still the threat that we've got throughout the rest of this day. It's a very high wind as well. It can blow more rain over the circuit. It could, of course, blow the rain away. But we've seen the rain radar. It's pretty grim looking, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely is. The wind then, of course, affects things for these drivers in the headwind with the tow. Then it can also help clear some of the water off of that racing line. You can see there at turn at number 8, it's not actually too bad. There's not too much standing water around the circuit. It does clear off quite well. And like Illy Christian said in his driver interview just a moment ago, can be moved off of the line in the early stages, especially with this number of karts driving round. We have got 36 out there, started off by Kamyab and Turney and rounded off by Peldez and Gast at the back. Another opportunity then for Kamyab to get this race restart right. He's had a few false starts this weekend, struggling to back the pack into each other and make sure everybody is in formation, but looking slower now out of turn number 11. Drivers raise the acceleration, raise the revs, raise, and we are out and going. Side by side go Kamyab and Turney at turn number 1. Turney looks like he's going to have the run. Off the road goes Joe Turney at turn at number 2. All the way out on the grass. Keeps his foot in though, keeps the acceleration going, does not stall it, and gets back onto the road, but right at the back of the field. Kamyab is your race leader. That could have been a big moment for those two, as we've now lost another driver out at the back. I think that could be one of the Leclerc carts, very potentially.
That's Ella Hakkinen, unfortunately, out of the race, and the other was Dean Pedersen off the track as well. So that is the latest 2 retirements, and unfortunately for them, they were starting a little further down in the order on this one, and that might spell disaster for them getting into the final, but we'll have to wait and see. Eyes on the rest of the field here, though. Still a strong start for Roman Kamyab at the front here. Drummond there in second place. Drummond still vying in the championship here. He might be able to gain 1 or 2 places here to step him up, but yeah, it's going to be a long shot in that one. Over the start-finish line they go. It's Kamyab from Drummond, Pradier from Ivanikov, Korda from Bataro, Rocchio from Peschel, Kelleher from Ramakas, who rounds out the top 10. Biggest mover on the opening laps. Oliver Rasmussen and Marcus Junscher, the 2 Danishmen, are up 10 places.
Yeah, big dramas in the early stages of this race then. Not what the likes of Hakkinen would have wanted. He was in that danger zone going into this superheat. Early stages of this one, 8/10 split up, Kamyab and Zach Drummond. Then have Pradier, Ivanikov and Luke Cordner in there as well. Cordner had a difficult one in the racing aspect of things yesterday, but in this it's an 8th place gained, probably helped by that early stage mess created by Kamyab and Turney through turns number 1 and 2. Where is Joe currently? Just sat in 25th behind Joel Pukala. Aston Sharp is now starting to tumble down the order as well. So the 2 Brits of Sharp and Turney are currently 24th and 25th. That was the final turns. These drivers go once more. No changes within the top 5 for the time being. Settled down it has gone into this stage of the race, but down the inside looks Zach Green on Jakub Kiminek there for P12. Doesn't manage to pull it off through turn at number 1. Slippy part of the circuit after all of that rubber has been laid down there through the dry condition racing we saw yesterday. Still trying to fight for position is Green. Can he pull something off through turn at number 4? Not just yet. We'll tuck back in to try and clip that curb, get the run on the exit of sector number 1. Now Kamyab is continuing to pick up the pace, has given himself an extra 2/10 from the Scotsman of Zach Drummond.
Indeed. Still watching this fight here as everyone pushing through in these early stages. Hugo Marti now one of the big movers. He is up 10 places as well. He's up there in 17th place as I was focusing on this one. Drama at turn number 7 outside of our commentary box window. A 3-car pile-up involving Marcus Junscher, Zhang Jose and Marco Gast, unfortunately, will not be finishing this race. Guys, we're on lap 4. You can't even attempt to restart it. 2 of them just did. That won't look good in the eyes of the officials, and the marshals there working hard to clear that track then from the field. But great work from them once again over the course of this weekend. On to lap number 4 of this race. Peschel now at the fastest lap, closing in on Bataro in P5. Where is Christian Costoya, though, out there? Well, he's all the way down in 22nd place.
Yeah, difficult up and down weekend for the driver that came into this race as the championship leader. Still is fighting out for that European Championship title, and it's still looking likely for Christian. Green flags are waved once again at turn number 9 after that incident involving Zhang Jose, Junscher and Marco Gast at turn number 7. Of course, they are drivers that were already in that danger zone coming into this superheat, so it's looking unlikely that they're going to qualify into that final later on. Almost an attempted overtake potentially into turn number 10 as Zach Green has finally managed to get past Kamenek now for that P12. So these drivers looking strong there out of turn number 11. Change for Costoya there further back in the field. Davide Bataro is the newest driver to light things up and put in that purple lap. Lighting things up now is Zach Drummond. 5/10 split up him and your race leader of Roman Kamyab. It was a second, so it has halved now in only 2 laps. Through the second sector, these drivers will head. Vladimir Ivanikov once more looking strong there on the tail of Pradir. As we watch a replay then of this start. So Kamyab massively catches out Turney towards turn number 2. Turney all over the grass at 2 on that outside part, catches all of the mud. Lucky enough to not end up too wide or to not actually have that rear end spin round from him. Keeps it going, gets back on the road, and currently now in 17th. So was previously 25th just a few laps ago, but managing to pick things up and would have been helped then from that incident at turn number 7. More moves going on down at turn number 1. That's the Kart Republic of Daniel Kelleher now getting past Luke Cordner. Clara Kowalczyk, driver who's actually not really dropped outside of the top 10 so far this weekend, finds herself in P10 currently on the back of her teammates of Kelleher now. Tries to get something done there is Vladimir Ivanikov, sandwiched between the two Tony Karts there. The Birrell, who finished P2 when we were last out at Viterbo, has continuously had good results within this championship since moving to the Birrell Art Camp from Energy Course at the start of this year.
Right, Nicole, I've been doing some serious maths again in this one, trying to work something out to try and keep the hope alive for the Australians, for James Anagnostidis in this championship fight versus Christian Costoya. Costoya is in a perfect space, so for the Spaniards at home who want the Spaniard to win, Costoya, he's in a really good spot right now. Yes, okay, he is down there in the field and he's not going to score any championship points in that position. However, going into the final, if James doesn't score any points in the next race, Costoya will have a points lead of 57 championship points. There is only 51 points up for grabs. However, if James Anagnostidis can take the win in that next race, he would get 90 intermediate classification points. That would not put him anywhere near the top runners there, but it would get him in at around 10th in the points, maybe even 9th, depending on where Jacopo Martinez finishes in the or anyone else, because he's currently there with 210 points as well. So basically, if he does finish there, he gets 7 championship points if he finishes 9th, which means going into the final, there'll be 50 points in between the two drivers, which means they'll be neck and neck going into that final over the fastest lap.
I have never seen you so excited, Anthony Jordan.
So
that was brilliant, thank you.
You're very welcome. That's why I've been so silent over the last couple. I can't talk and do maths at the same time. But that's what I've worked out. Oh dear, out of the race is Oliver Rasmussen. The drive of the day for him in this one. He gained multiple positions and now he has tumbled out of the order and out of this superheat. That is a disaster. He will not see the final, and for the home driver, that is weekend done here in the rain. Absolutely
is. That puts a full stop on his championship this year. Rasmussen then won't see our finals later on. This is the battle, though, between the two Tony Karts heading out of turn number 7. Pradir and Peschel there, ahead of Ivanikov. These two need to be careful now in these conditions, because it's easy to trip over the driver in front, catch maybe a sideboard or something, and drivers quite quickly find themselves in turmoil. But giving each other that racing room for the time being. Both two have had some really good results so far this weekend. Pradir with a P3, some P5s and a P4. We've also got Peschel then, who's had heat wins, had 2 P2s, but suffered a DNF earlier on. Those two then, line of stern for 3rd and 4th currently, but you can expect with the teammate status of the two that they will give each other enough room. They don't want to sacrifice that P3 for Peschel currently in the final intermediate classification, and the P5 for Thomas for the time being. This gap between your two at the front, 0.6 of a second now between Kamyab and Drummond. So no major changes, but a major change here for P3. Peschel goes down the inside of Pradir for P3. That brings Ivanikov back into the fight, who's pulling around Davide Pitaro as well. So those two drivers gave each other that room like we called it. Does that affect our points standings at all so far? We'll have to see when they come over the line once more. But the two Tony Karts there looking strong, but the Birrell still right there in the fight.
Yeah, Vladimir Ivanikov still in this one. And, well, like you say, he's 4th at the moment, 254 points to his name. He's 20 points behind Peschel right now. Peschel, who's there in 3rd, yeah, he's not going to catch him with just an overtake here or there, he would need to win the race, and Peschel would need to tumble down to the back to even give that a hope to stepping up. So they will stay like that. At this moment, Kamyab is in a position in the lead of this one to secure those 25 championship points. That's where it gets a little bit more interesting.
Hang on a minute.
In the fight. Go on.
I don't know if you've noticed what's happened to Christian Costoya.
Well, he's down in 30th place. He's not had a torrid race. I think he knows that this job is quite simple and he doesn't need a calm race. He's off the track there. A shaky one for Tom Pradé. He's lost out a handful of points. Yeah, no, that's Christian Costoy, knowing that if he doesn't score any championship points, he's backing off. He doesn't need to risk anything. Of course, if he gets a DSQ or anything, he could lose out on intermediate classification point, and he doesn't want that. He's just hoping to get to the end of this race. He doesn't need to stress too much because, again, what I said about those points for James Anagnostiadis is the best case scenario for James. He needs to win, but he's starting his superheat down on the 8th row of the grid. So it's going to be a very tricky thing to do. Eyes on this one. This is Joe Turney down the inside at turn number 1 on Jakub Kamenek. That was a bold move, and Kamenek was lucky to keep that car on the track. So was Joe Turney.
Well, Turney then, after that issue at the race start with Kamyab, knows that he needs to fight his way back up in the order. Still P5 for the time being in the final intermediate classification, but high risk means high reward. That's why he would have tried to pull that off at turn number 1, lucky to get back onto the road. Almost replicated what we saw from him at that race start at turn number 2. Let's not forget as well that he would have had lots of dirt on those wet tyres when rejoining on the tarmac. So looks down the inside, just that understeer with the wet conditions, then gets through the mud, keeps it on the tarmac though, but he will maybe be vulnerable to Luke Cordner there behind. Still sat in P12 for the time being. Turney though, just mistakes in the wet conditions this year. We saw a big mistake from him at Portimao around the last corner in, I think it was a superheat or the final. Just not great luck. Things just haven't gone his way so far this European season.
Yes, indeed. While I was doing that, I was doing actual maths in my head, not on paper this time around. And what I was saying about James Anagnostiadis, if he wins the race and he gets 210 points, he matches Jacopo Martinese's 210 points. Martinese's 9th. He needs 9th to keep that fight alive. He can't get 9th because Martinez out-qualified him on Friday, and it will fall down to qualifying in that intermediate classification. So I don't think it's actually possible for him to do it. However, there'll be like 1 point in it. Even if James gets the fastest lap of the race and the win in the final, it will still be like 1 or 2 points that would separate them.
Well, we'll have to find out as we go into the finals because
I don't trust my maths at all.
Here we go then. Through turns 2 and 3, these drivers go once more. No major changes for the time being. Though Turney has finally managed to find his way past Kamenek there for that P11. So this time with the overtake, didn't make a mistake out there on the road. No change either between these two drivers of Kamyab and Drummond. Drummond just hasn't had the legs within this race to reduce that 6/10 gap. But Peschel behind has pulled away from the remainder of the top 5, including Ivanikov and Bataro, who have now both overtaken Thomas Pradé. Pradé then currently sat where he started this race from, currently sat within that final intermediate classification where he is on the road with a P6. And within this race then, we've got a number of drivers under investigation. Just shows the number of incidents as we head into this really tricky stage of the year and of the race. Vladimir Ivanikov, the 127, being one of those drivers that is being looked at. So the name in P4 could be under a bit of pressure by our team in race control. And of course, visit the stewards later on. But for now, these three, Kamyab, Drummond and Peschel, are your ones at the front. Really no real gain or loss for any of them at this point in the race.
No, staying where they are right now. It is just a case of waiting to see what happens in that final. Of course, it's been a long old weekend for these drivers, and it is tricky around this track in these sort of conditions. There is a great view there of those shoes once again on Gonzalo Planta. I have got video on my phone of him literally being duct tape alive.
Ooh.
Oh, down the inside. That was a big one for Thibaut Ramekers and Thomas Pradé. The two colliding at turn number 9. Pradir will not be happy with that at all.
No, absolutely not. Ramicus has already had penalties for causing incidents this weekend. Maybe that was a bit aggressive at turn number 9 for the VDK on the Kart Republic driver. Nonetheless, so has made the move stick for the time being, and of course with Kelleher falling off the road slightly, has got that gap out there. Now then, at the front, we said we didn't know if it was going to be possible, but we have now had a change for our race leader because Drummond has taken it from Cam Yab.
No, he hasn't.
No, he hasn't, because Cam Yab gets it back and gets his elbows back out whilst he tries to do it. Now down the inside goes Drummond, now goes down the inside Peschel. Peschel now gets into P2. Cam Yab finds himself on the outside of the road at turn number 8. So from the matter of only just 2 corners, Cam Yab has gone from your race leader to the driver in P3.
That is a big moment there. Drummond takes the lead now from Peschel. Cam Yab just got swamped there by the drivers, and that puts him down to 3rd now. That's still absolutely fine. Cam Yab still leads the intermediate classifications. He has lost out on some points, but he is still clear by 14 points from Zach Drummond. Cam Yab would have to fall well down in the order here to lose out on that lead, but he's holding firm now in 3rd place with everyone breaking away there. But Vanikov is starting to close in. Vladimir Vanikov there in P4 certainly could pile on the pressure here. Davide Bataro as well having a very good race, but Peschel could be eyeing up here a superheat win, and that would add to his tally pretty nicely. He's 3rd in the points, he's on 282. A change of lead here won't affect him too much, but will help him out when it comes to that 2nd senior race later on. But eyes focus on these top 2. Drummond in control as we're on lap number 16 of this race. The last lap board will be going out to these drivers now, and that usually turns the dial up to 11. Only 1,200 meters left of this race, and Drummond leads the way, takes the inside line. Peschel on the outside is going to try and get the switch over here. Can he get his nose down the inside? He can! Down the inside at turn number 2. It's a beautiful move from Jindra Peschel, but can they keep this fight up to the end? Drummond's not going to give this one up. He'll sweep to the outside. He's going to try and get the switch back. This could bring Cam Yab back into play, but he cannot get the power down. And Peschel with that superb reading up the road, but he runs wide, and now Drummond's back down the inside. Wheel to wheel again, and Drummond's back through. Beautiful drive from Zach Drummond, clips that inside curb, both of them taking that same inside line. Watch them now into turn 9. Will Peschel go the long way? Drummond goes defensive. Peschel on the outside, tries to get the switch back. Not going to happen. It's Drummond in the front from Peschel. Cam Yab now backing Ivanikov and Bataro into each other. Out of the final corner, it could be a run to the line, but Zach Drummond, I think, has got this one sealed and will secure a front row, but it's Roman Cam Yab who will be on pole position for those superheats at this moment. He has got the 316 points. He, at this moment, will be starting on that pole position spot, but can he be beaten from any one of the drivers behind? I mean, Jensen Burnett's the next highest scorer, but from the results that we're seeing, I don't think it's going to be possible. Roman Cam Yab has done enough here to put it on the pole position spot for the final. There, though, Zach Drummond, your race winner, as you're popular there, the biggest mover in that race. He's had dramas this weekend, has the Schalke Racing Team driver, and that's driver of the 312, 14th place on a 14th place gain. There's your top 3. Drummond, Peschel, and Cam Yab. 1, 2, 3 ahead of their final later on today, but still one more senior race to go in the superheats. There's the rest of the results. Ivanikov from Bataro, Ramicus from Kelleher, Kowalczyk from Pradir, Turney from Green, from Kamenek and Mins, Pokala from Rocchio, Marty from Minardo, and Kornda rounds out the top 18. Big movers there in the field. You can see Sebastian Mins with 12 places gained, Hugo Marti with 11. Vengard Clementson in 18th place, just behind Toby Gale. 12 places gained for him. Sonia B from Sebastiano Pavan, Maria Netta from Aston Sharp, Leo Nilsson